Welcome to this Day 1 conversation. I'm Peter Wallace, and with us today is the Reverend Mariko Cheifetz. Laura joined the Fund for Theological Education early this year as the director of the Leading Generations Initiative. Laura, thanks for talking with us.
Thank you, Peter.
You've joined FTE to lead a new initiative that strikes me as part of something bigger. It's a whole intergenerational conversation and movement that is really needed to renew the church in these days, not only to share the Christian faith, but to identify future leaders. So tell us about the Leading Generations Initiative, what it means for FTE, and what it says about where we are in the church today.
I think the real power of FTE is that there are over 7,000 alumni, including the alumni of the Transition into Ministry program, along with FTE fellows. And there's a real convening power within the Fund for Theological Education. So to bring these people back in communication with each other and in communication with the Fund for Theological Education could be a real learning point, both for us and for them. There are a lot of really powerful people who could resource each other, could be a resource to the rest of the church, and that these are the leaders of the church, present and future. And it's really exciting to think about all of the gifts that they might bring to each other.
And the gifts they will bring to the church at large.
Yes, one of the things that's really great about FTE is this convening power and being able to engage these folks who are out there doing the real work in continuing the cycle of noticing, naming, and nurturing young leaders for the church. And to ask people who are out there now to do what people did for them could really bring in some more great folks. So that's it. That's Leading Generations.
And you mentioned all the alumni of FTE. I'm thinking about the incredible legacy of leaders like Barbara Brown Taylor, Walter Brueggemann, Robert Franklin, Mark Hansen, Samuel Lloyd, Otis Moss, Patricia Ferris, and Juan Huertas, who have all been involved with Day 1 over the years, who are all FTE fellows. How does it feel to be reconnecting with leaders like those?
It can be a little intimidating. And it can be really exciting that these are people who have really had the opportunity to shape the church and have been invested in and are now investing in young people. And it's really great to see a gathering of folks who are FTE fellows, both current and past, who are alumni, and just to see the power that's in that group. I told a group of ministry fellows to kind of keep track of each other for the next 5 or 10 years and see where they all are. That most of our fellows turn out to be these leaders, whether they're in churches or running nonprofits or in the academy. And it's really exciting to see where folks might go, knowing where people have been.
And there's a rich diversity in that group of people as well. How important is that in the future of church leadership?
I think the church is becoming more diverse each and every day. And so for us to be really invested in nurturing a diversity of leaders who are connected to one another and are connected with deeper church networks that are ecumenical, I think that that's very kind of dangerous to have all of those connections, to cross over those lines that we're supposed to stay within. And so it's really exciting to have a diverse group of leaders be able to talk to one another. I think a real strength of FTE is having all of these people together in one room that they can share with one another and support each other. I think what can really happen is that people get in one room and they realize all of these people are asking these similar questions to me, and they end up being friends and colleagues for years.
You're also working with the Lilly Endowment's Transition into Ministry program. As seminarians transition into pastoral ministry, what should our listeners know about the support they need, the challenges they face, and how this program can help them?
It's hard to be a pastor without support. And so what the Transition into Ministry program does is provide a mentoring atmosphere, a collegial atmosphere for pastors in their first years of ministry to be able to process through some of the leadership challenges. And when they think, what is going on in this church, to have people be able to work with them through what good pastors do. And so oftentimes when I think about the people I've known even before I came into this position who went through the Transition into Ministry program, they've come out really strong, solid folks. And that all of them were that already when they entered these programs, but they came out with a network that I think has helped sustain them throughout their ministry.
I'm curious about how all this resonates with you personally. You were an FDE ministry fellow in 2001. You are an ordained Presbyterian minister. You're also the daughter of two pastors. So your personal journey must seem to connect in some powerful ways with what you're doing now.
I think a lot of people invested in me pretty early on, and the Presbyterian Church, when I was 20 or 21, sent me as a delegate to a World Council of Churches consultation. It was about 30 women talking about racism in India. And I was, I think, the youngest in the room. And when I was 25, I was still the youngest in the room in a lot of church circles. And when I'm 31 now, I'm still the youngest in the room. And I think what that has impressed upon me is that a lot of people invested in me when I was younger, and now it's my turn to do that investing. I have access to people who are younger and access to these wider church circles. And so what I've really tried to do is to think of myself as, well, there won't be any leading generations if I don't also participate in this cycle. So I think that has been really important to me, knowing and being humbled by the fact that all of these people invested in me. And so it's my turn to find people, so I'm not the youngest in the room anymore. I just every once in a while at a church meeting, I'll be like, why am I the youngest? Maybe I should have brought someone with me. But it's up to me. It's not just up to folks who are older than I am. And my parents, I think, they were obviously very formative in a lot of ways. My father he's always been a pastor in the parish. And I think that what I learned from him was being able to see someone who could consistently be a really good pastor, and he's not a climber. So I saw someone who loved it because he loved it and because he was called to it. And I also saw a lot of the stuff that came along with that was really difficult. And so I think to have that really realistic perspective on ministry has been helpful. And it's also been helpful to have a mother who, as a Japanese American woman, decided that she could preach and had the audacity to do so, and has been able to nurture me so that I also feel comfortable being in these leadership positions that people who look like me aren't supposed to be in.
Well, the quality of leadership, or the lack of it, has been a big theme in the news for almost every sector over the last decade or more. And while business, for example, works on succession planning, sometimes it seems that has fallen off the radar for our churches and denominations. What kinds of things can our listeners do in their congregations to help identify and encourage the future pastors and leaders of the church that we will need?
I think that it's helpful for our pastors and leaders in the churches to always be asking those questions of vocation of themselves, and then to remember to ask those questions of vocation within their congregations and with young people in particular. I think that everyone struggles with this, what am I supposed to do when I grow up? Even when we're 60 or 70, people are still asking that. And I think to be open and honest about that, about the development of that call, that sense of vocation, and to draw younger people into that conversation can also help draw in quality leaders who think, oh, this person is asking me, that must mean I have something to say. And I think even remembering that people have something to say at an early age can help us develop these young leaders. And I think it can be, sometimes I worry about saying that we need younger people just because we need younger people. I think that really what we need are to support and nurture those folks who would not otherwise think about ministry or not have the confidence to engage in ministry, so that we have a wide diversity of leaders. I think that sometimes the churches, they want to just come up with this diversity of leaders to look good, but to be able to nurture the right people into the right places of leadership, I think, is key.
There's a chance for congregations from across the country and FDE alumni, many of whom have preached here on Day1, to connect in Atlanta and get involved at a Calling Congregations Conference, October 8th through 10th this year. Who is the event for, and what will those who attend get out of that?
The event is for everyone who has these questions of vocation, and for congregations who want to engage at the grassroots level of encouraging these cultures of call. it's usually a really exciting event. And to have people who are interested, whether they're pastors or church leaders or congregation members, to come and to think about what are the ways that we can engage these questions of vocation so that our churches are places where we bring up young people to ask these same questions and to be leaders in the church. So it's a good time. Register.
Laura Cheifetz, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.